The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in a cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
The Cryptid Files is a weekly discussion and debate covering all things cryptid. Mysterious and terrifying creatures are our passion. Join us each week as we bring you groundbreaking interviews and accounts, info from research in the field, as well as data and experiences of our own. From the widely known cryptids to the most strange and obscure, we want to believe. Do you?
And welcome to the Cryptid Files. I'm sorry tonight, people, but I don't have a lead-in. We had a really great weekend, and I fell a little behind.
Yeah, we had a pizza pool party.
Yeah, not a pizza party or a pool party. We had a pizza pool party.
That's right. Our grandson.
Yeah.
He has been wanting to have a pizza pool party for weeks, so
yeah,
that's what we did today.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
We got sunburnt. So we've been
Some of us did.
Yeah, well, all right, well, whatever. She's been slapping me and abusing me all day.
Yes. No, I have not. Don't listen to him, folks. I hope everybody's had a wonderful week.
Yeah, and the weekend's not over yet,
Nope.
So I hope you continue to have a great weekend.
Oh, yeah. We have, last night we did our first show again with the Massachusetts team,
mm-hmm.
and we talked about ectoplasm. It was really great. So I just want to give a shout out to Kim and Aaron and Sarah and Dave. You guys were awesome, and I had a really great time speaking about ectoplasm. So
kind of an interesting topic.
It was,
but
I think it was a little more interesting than everybody thought it would be. So
yeah,
so I think it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
and it was just great to be doing stuff with them again and to just reconnect in that way and see them doing their thing and going for it. So it was awesome.
Pretty cool. I mean, if anybody's ever watched any of our shows on Facebook Live, we're kind of goofy and everything else, but we're bringing a whole new platform and everything else into it, and I was real proud of the way it went last night.
Oh, yeah, they did great.
It was really good.
I'm so glad we got to be a part of it. I sound a little muffled, too.
Yeah, I do, too.
Little muffled.
You know what it is I'm not running the headphone amplifier tonight.
Oh, that's what
So that's probably why.
Yeah, it's fine.
Everything is run the same, but anyways. So tonight, we're going to talk about Bigfoot's and Yeti's cousin, the Yowie.
The Australian Sasquatch.
Yowie!
That's what the first person who saw it said.
That's what I said when I met you.
Yeah, wait. Okay. Wow, thanks. And so they ran away after saying that, and then they saw Yowie.
Yeah.
So there's not as much, we don't talk as much in the U.S. about the Yowie.
No, we don't.
As I feel like we should. We should talk much more about it because it's fascinating, A, and B, people have a lot of sightings in all different areas in Queensland, on the coast, let's see, in New Zealand, across from Australia. There's all sorts of areas.
Yes.
Where they spot these beings, and one of the big areas is the Blue Mountains, which is a really cool area because it's very mountainous. That's it. Very mountainous, and
just have to turn the volume up a little bit.
Yeah, a little. It's forested, and there are lots of cliffs, and it's amazing. It's a beautiful place, and you wouldn't really, you kind of would, but, we usually think of Australia as like, down under in the, what is it called out there? Just where the desert and all that stuff is. It's called the bush.
The bush.
So you think of that. And it's really cool, this really pretty forested area that's just amazing. There's a lot of that there, too. And that is where, much more than here. Yeah. Like, much more than in the U.S., like a bigger area. Much bigger. But that's where there have been a lot of Yowie sightings. So I'm excited about talking about this. I was pleasantly surprised. And a Yowie is, I mean, it's a pretty imposing sort of fellow.
So why don't we introduce him by reading some Yowie stuff from Wikipedia. So Yowie is one of several names for an Australian folklore entity reputed to live in the outback. Why do I sound horrible without those amplified headset
maybe
things?
We don't. We just feel like we do.
Maybe. I don't know. But anyways, Yowie is one of several names for an Australian folklore entity reputed to live in the outback. The creature has its roots in Aboriginal oral history in parts of Queensland. They are known as Quinkin. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Or as a type of Quinkin. I don't know what a Quinkin.
It's Quinkin.
Quinkin, all right.
Quinkin.
And as Jugabina.
Yeah, Jugabina. I like that.
In parts of New South Wales, they are called, oh my God.
Gindaring?
Yeah, we need an Aborigine for this.
Gindaring and Jurawarara?
Gulaga, and Thulaga. Other names include
Mingawan. The Mingawan? I've heard of the Mingawan.
Yarama,
Putakin,
Nukuna, Wowie, Pangarlangu.
The Jimba.
All right, we're going to have a test at the end of the
Tangara.
show. We're definitely going to have a test at the end of the show. So see who can really see. I actually sound better when I get up on the microphone.
Yeah, so it goes by many different names, I guess, where the Aboriginal people have different tribes who call it different things, or just maybe, the Aussies, they have just an interesting language and they come up with some really odd words, so maybe that's it too.
Right, so the description of a Yowie is usually described as a hairy ape-like creature standing upright between 2.1 meters, 6 foot 11, and 3.6 meters, 12 feet.
Holy cow.
The Yowie's feet are described as much larger than a human's, but alleged Yowie tracks are inconsistent in shape and the tone, just like Sasquatch.
Mm-hmm.
And the description of a Yowie foot and footprint provided by Yowie witnesses are even more varied than those of Bigfoot. The Yowie's nose is described as wide and flat.
Yes.
Behavioral. Some report the Yowie is timid or shy. I don't know. Some of the reports that we've actually been hearing it's not the case. Others describe the Yowie as sometimes violent or aggressive.
Yes, and we've heard that. Look, wait. Check out this picture.
Yeah.
It is a Yowie swallowing a man.
Human, yeah.
1907 drawing.
And one gulp. So the original name for Yowie to describe an unidentified Australian hominid is unclear. The term was used in 1875 among the Kamailario. I hope I pronounced that right. People are documented in Rev. William Riley's blah blah blah. I don't know who writes half this stuff sometimes. Wikipedia. You gotta get your shit straight.
And other Australian languages. Yeah. Kamilaro.
Yowie, spelled in this case Y-O-W-I, is a spirit that roams over the earth at night. So that's what a Yowie means.
That's also what a Bigfoot does.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So, so this creature, it's a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, I was watching a documentary and, oh my Lord, it could have gone so many different places than it did. And I was a little disappointed because I was expecting more of it. And I was really hoping that it would sort of come to some great crescendo, but it left you wanting much more. But it had some good facts in it and some good accounts and references in it. And they describe a Yowie much like a Bigfoot in most cases. There are very little differences. But one of the men who was some sort of scientist or something, I don't know, was trying to say that a Yowie was, in fact, nothing like a Bigfoot, that it was completely different. One had nothing to do with the other, that it was not even a cryptid. I don't even know what he tried to explain it as, but it was really weird. And he's like, so one has nothing to do with the other.
And that's kind of weird if you ask me.
And it's so untrue.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, because the encounters that people are having fall very much in line with the encounters that are reported not only in the United States, but in many other countries across the world, when people have encounters with these hairy beings, hairy people, humanoid, whatever you want to call them, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever.
Sorry, I'm trying to get my microphone to sound as good as hers.
Jealous?
No, I just think you sabotaged mine.
I haven't touched anything. Using my telepathy and my ectoplasm to turn the dial.
So Yowie.
Yeah, and so he's big. Like, he's really big. We also know that in the U.S. that we find tracks, 3-toed tracks, 4-toed tracks. You find different tracks when pertaining to the Sasquatch. So that's not so far off the scope,
right?
You know, and maybe they find more there. I don't know. I mean, that, you know, that's speculative. I don't think there's probably any study done, you know, where you find more abnormal or out of the norm as far as tracks go. But they evidently find them quite a bit over in Australia. So their Yowies or their Bigfoots are interesting.
Yeah, they sure are.
And, you know, some people say that the 3-toe, 4-toe tracks are a result of like interbreeding.
Yeah.
With, you know,
I wouldn't doubt it.
Their families, but I don't know. I don't know if it's that at all. I mean, what if they got hurt?
I mean, they could have caught their foot in a trap or something.
They have Crocs. What if Crocs bite their toes off when they're trying to fight a crocodile?
Are they wearing the Crocs when they're biting?
That's a good question. But I mean, seriously, it's brutal out there in Australia. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's silly, but for whatever reason, you know, maybe it's just part of it. Maybe we've talked about this before. Maybe it's a common birth defect. There are common birth defects in you know, every species, just like in humans.
It's a interbreeding thing too.
I just said that.
I'm sorry, my phone is talking to me.
Yes. No, I don't know. It could be. I don't know. Maybe not. Not sure. But whatever the case is, people, of course, you know, don't believe in. I think people in Australia are a little. I think they're coming around, people? But I think that it's very much taboo there too to talk about it. But I think they're coming around as well. I think the U.S. is kind of at the forefront of talking about Bigfoot encounters. Yeah. So hopefully it'll spread everywhere, and people won't be afraid to tell, you know, what happens when you encounter these things. So I think really that Yowie is extremely close to a Bigfoot, or if not a Bigfoot, which I believe it is. But, you know, there's some interesting things like Madagascar, New Zealand, places like that are surrounded by water. They have sightings of these things there. So how do you suppose that a Bigfoot gets to an island?
I don't know.
Out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the ocean. That's like I wonder if, you know, that's odd. That would be interesting. Do you think that there are sightings of Bigfoot in Hawaii?
Maybe. Because
that's an interesting thing to kind of look over. What about Japan? You know, places like that. I'm going to have to do some research into that. But, so some people do say that Yowies are timid and shy, but that kind of falls in the line of Bigfoot altogether. But many of the accounts that I've listened to of people's experiences with the Yowie have not been good. They've felt very threatened. And these animals have become violent, you know, false charging them, screaming at them, like literally only feet away, screaming at them, throwing things at them quite a bit, knocking trees down really close to them, they're not very tolerant of you being in their territory. So they get angry pretty easily. But then again, Australia is full of really scary animals. So it could just be that they have to fight harder for what they're going to get. So they're more aggressive. I don't know. Or it could be maybe that's just the way they are there. They're just aggressive. But I know several of the accounts, people really thought they were going to die. They really thought that these things were going to end their lives because they're just that scary and that imposing.
So we got a question. Yowie is different to Bigfoot. How? I have no idea.
I only heard one person say that a Yowie was different from a Bigfoot, and this guy was a quack. Basically, he was off his rocker, and he said that they're not even the same thing at all. That it's a completely different thing. But I'm not. I don't believe that for one bit, because everything that I've listened to, everything that I've read so far, a Yowie falls in the line of a Bigfoot. Like the sightings, the encounters, what happens.
I think the only difference between a Bigfoot and a Yowie is that Bigfoot has an American accent and a Yowie has an Australian accent.
What it is?
That's exactly what it is. I know it for a fact. Yeah, why not?
Raw, mate.
Why not?
Are they throwing shrimp on the Barbie?
Maybe.
I guess it's possible. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm gonna say that
I'm just guessing.
I'm gonna say that the difference is, I believe that the Yowie, it is appearing more aggressive than our Bigfoot does.
I think so. We've done the Yeti.
Aggressive.
Very aggressive. I mean, ridiculously aggressive. In my opinion, from the stories that I've heard, the Yowie is not as aggressive, but it is aggressive, and I think it is more aggressive than Bigfoot. Not to say that Bigfoot could not be aggressive or as aggressive as a Yeti, but if you had to put them in order of aggressiveness, Yeti, Yowie, Bigfoot, my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree. There are places in the U.S., though, where Bigfoot are more aggressive than other places, and they tend to be a little bit leaner and a little bit smaller in stature. But places like eastern Texas, in that area,
they're built for their surroundings.
Oh, they are just monsters over there. Hot, no pun intended. But they're really aggressive, and they make no bones about it. Like they're just don't. It's. So I'm assuming that it's something along those lines, that they're kind of like that, just pretty aggressive. But they are large. They're big. They're right in there with our biggest Bigfoots, which are out in the Northwest. Hello, Matt. How are you?
Hey, Matt.
So the Yowie is
Thank you, sir.
Bigger, if not as big, if not bigger, than our Northwestern Bigfoot.
Yeah. I would agree.
Oh, yeah. And
what's up, Dave?
Anywhere between 6.5 to 12 feet tall.
Yeah, I mean, we were just listening to an encounter, which we'll play later, about a Yowie, and I don't want to give it away too much, but this Yowie, when they came in contact with it, and you'll hear him talk about it, was his shoulders stopped at the top of a courier van. Mm-hmm.
The shoulders and torso. So I'm assuming like right below shoulder area.
All right, so we'll say chest
shoulders.
level, just for argument's sake. and that was what did how tall did he say it was? 7 foot?
Yeah.
Like this. It was roughly like 7 feet to his chest. So then you got to imagine another 2.5 feet roughly after that.
That's big, man.
Right?
That's freaking big.
Now, Shaquille, we were just watching a TV show on Shaquille O'Neal, and he was having this treehouse built. Shaquille O'Neal is 7'1".
Yeah.
But think about it. He's the size of a juvenile Sasquatch Yowie. Easily.
And that's a juvie. Like, how big do they really get?
Now then, if he extended his hand up over his head, that's approximately another 2.5 feet, and that's how tall he would be.
Well, the other guy that we were listening to the account, who was in a.
Sorry, that's my phone. I'm a rookie.
He was in a. What kind of truck was he in? It wasn't a Peterbilt, was it? What was it? Was it a Peterbilt?
Mack, International.
Maybe it was a Peterbilt. I think it might have been. But he's a truck driver, so he came upon one of these things. He had a night run, and it was his last run, so he was headed down this pretty desolate stretch of road. And on the side of the road, he said it was about 200...
All right, Matt, be safe. I don't mean to cut you off. Be safe, Matt.
Yeah. Oh, well, good luck, Matt. I hope you guys do well. So...
Thank you, Dave.
He was about 250 meters away, he said. And
that's roughly, for those that don't know, roughly between 650 700 feet.
So he thought that it was a person trying to hitchhike. And the closer he got, he said the bigger the thing got. And he had some lights that were at a 45-degree angle out to the side to look for kangaroo. And once he got close enough, he said that he saw this thing in his lights. It turned to him, and its eyes were glowing bright red. Like the light on his truck, on the lights that were out to the side, made this thing's eyes glow red when it looked at him. And
interesting.
He said that it was up to the bonnet on his truck, easily.
Yeah, so the hood?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's big.
Yeah.
That's fucking huge.
I mean, you got 6-foot guys that drive these things, and the hood of the truck is still over their head. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big truck, big beast. And, these people describe it very much like a Bigfoot. It's kind of a blackish brown color. The hair was 3 to 4 inches long. The eyes were very much larger than a human's eyes. No neck. It's broad. The shoulders are very broad. The chest is barreled.
Kind of sounds like me.
Kind of. Except, it's a lot bigger. And,
I'll get a stepladder. We'll be
that'll work. Just these things are imposing. They're massive. Mm-hmm. And the arms, he said, were longer. They came to about mid thigh.
Maybe like...
almost to the knee.
Probably as big as Andre the Giant.
Oh, easy.
Yeah.
Maybe bigger. But he said it looked like a human on steroids, essentially, at first. But the arms were longer. The eyes were bigger. The nose was wide and flat.
Yep.
And so it's pretty indicative of the encounters of Bigfoot here. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it seems to be falling in line with the same, not only characteristics, but the same sort of actions and the way that it moves and the way that it behaves, the behavior of a Bigfoot here.
Right.
So, but man, there are some aggressive.
Yeah, I was listening to one encounter, and this guy. Hold on, let me read what just came up in chat. That's a very good question. So now that I've read the question, John, this is from Paranormal People. Dave and myself were told tonight about someone, who had what they think could have been a Bigfoot hand. But the strange thing was, it had webbing between the fingers. Have you ever come across anything like that before? I'll be honest with you. Okay. First off, I want to know who you got it from, because if it's who I think you did, it's a fake. But if it's not, then I couldn't tell you. Number two, a Bigfoot hand would be kind of rare. Bigfoot tend to... I'm like blowing in the microphone. This sucks tonight. Bigfoot tend to clean up after themselves. So if one dies, they carry it off. Any parts left behind, they take it with them. I've never heard... But to answer your question about the webbing... I've never heard of any kind of webbing between the fingers, unless it's one of those birth defects.
It's interesting. I mean, hearing this is very interesting because, first of all, yes, I have heard of at least one other person who got
She's
part
really
of a
the
Bigfoot
person
hand.
to ask, not me.
And it was very decayed, so it was mostly bone, very little flesh on it, but it really was a giant human type hand.
And they do have them. It's down wicked overmodulated. They do have them.
This one that I saw could not have been faked, or it couldn't be something that's like, old or ancient, because still
I'm sorry, I'm playing with things I shouldn't have. Try again.
There was still meat, just there's still flesh attached to these bones, but it was extremely large, and it was a lot of, what was that, a Bigfoot?
Yeah.
And it was it looked, everything about it looked human except the flesh that was left on it was very dark color. Do you have pictures of it?
Because I would be really interested in seeing it.
Well, and more than that, I'd like to know regionally where it was found.
Yeah.
Because if it is, a damp area, like a swampy area, or down south in the swampy area like Florida or Mississippi or Louisiana, something like that. We don't know a whole lot about a skunk ape, or swamp apes, but who's to say?
It would definitely answer some questions, though.
Who's to say that because of the area that they are in, that they haven't developed over time some sort of webbing?
Right. It wouldn't surprise me.
But then again, it was decades ago.
It happened decades ago, and it was
their
family. It was flesh, as it didn't smell or rot. I can't remember how long they said it was. Washington State in the woodland with lakes.
Interesting. Oh. No, but humans can have a defect, and they can actually have. I had a teacher who had webbed toes.
Strange nails too. Can you explain the nails?
Yeah.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to say I'm actually going to throw this at our Bigfootologist down the road, because he and his wife know a lot about it, and I wouldn't be surprised if he would say,
yeah.
Yeah, they do have
we'll
webbing.
Look at it. His hand was as big as a human head. Now, a picture that I saw that was within the past 5 or 6 years or so, this hand was the same size. It was as big as a human head. So you did get to see it. Could you maybe describe a little bit more? I know you're typing, but
the nails were 3 to 4 inches and
curved down.
You know what that sounds like?
Dogman?
Yeah, it sounds like a dogman.
I was thinking the same thing.
Because the dogman... Sasquatch, as far as I know, I've never met one, I've never shook its hand, but as far as I know from the research that I've done, Sasquatch, they don't have those talon-like fingernails. They more have, from what I understand, more of a human fingernail. It might be a little bit long, but not, it looks like it just needs to be cut and trimmed, but not, they don't have claws, as far as I know.
Well, were the nails like human nails that were just curved 3 to 4 inches, or were they more claw-like? Because it's interesting that you say webbing, because I'm wondering, as far as a dog man goes, because a lot of dogs do have webbing, that may,
that's a good point too.
Possibly. It's just an idea. We're throwing ideas out, but my God, the fact that you got to see this, I'm like really jealous.
She says no. No, not human, like you said.
Okay.
So we're
getting somewhere.
That would make me think, and I'm no expert by far, that would make me think it was a dog man over a Bigfoot.
The possibility is there that it could. We may be going into the. Oh man! See, we may be getting into dogman territory.
Or what if? It's a huge what if, because I don't know. What if these things have evolved or are starting to? Well, actually, this was decades ago, so not much has changed. But what if they have evolved? Excuse me. What if they have, pardon me again, Corona. What if they have evolved in that area?
I don't know. I don't know if that would be something they would need to evolve to do, because they don't. What purpose would it serve?
Maybe let's just again, just ideas, just throwing them out there. What if it's not human. Food now is they have to climb the trees or they have to swim more for their food. You know what I mean? Just an idea.
That's interesting. I don't know. That really is sort of the claws. Just that is very indicative of a dog man.
In that description, Dave, if you do get it, I'm kind of curious as to what the fur or skin would look like. The police took the hand away after it was kept in their freezer for a couple of days, and that was the last they heard of it. Of course they did.
Wow.
Surprised the Men in Black didn't come down.
Maybe they sent the police to do it for them.
Yeah, maybe.
That is crazy interesting. That's insane. I would only, man, just for on the back of the hand, skin on the palm. Wow.
So that it does sound like a Sasquatch. But now, was the fur short? Was it long? Did it have a color? I know I'm asking too much, but this helps us try and guess what it was.
But not necessarily, because a dog man's not going to have fur on its palms
no,
either.
I know, but the fur on the top of the hand, whether it was short or long. You know, was it long and scraggly?
Yeah, no.
Was it short like a dog's? You know what I mean? That's what we're looking for. But, well, Dave, while you're checking, we're going to take a quick little break because I need some more coffee. All right? I'm going to give you guys some music to listen to, and we will jump back into this when we return.
Yeah, this is cool.
All right. Stay tuned and enjoy. welcome back. So.
All right, Dave. This is awesome.
All right, Dave.
So when we were gone, Dave says that the thumb was in a different position closer to the fingers.
Paranormal people said that.
Paranormal people, sorry, not Dave. Different position closer to the fingers. Dave does say described as sloth-like, but 5 fingers. It was a 12-inch long hand near Mount St. Helens, and remember that these claws were 3 to 4 inches long. So you start to put all this little mental picture together, and you've got yourself one hell of a hand. This is insane. Now, we were talking, and the fact that the position of the thumb, like you said, is where it is. Man, I'm telling you that just... I know it's a Bigfoot area. Mount St. Helens, that is a
definitely.
Bigfoot area. But this hand sounds a whole lot to me kind of like a dog man.
So you got the webbing, you have the claws, and the fingers are in different positions. Now, Bigfoot, as far as we know, has more human-like hands. But that's not to say that this Bigfoot could have had a deformity, because sometimes they do have deformities in their feet.
Yeah.
Toes are different. So it's one of the two. I mean, a 12-inch hand, that's a big hand. That means that's a big boy.
Huge. Like, there are a couple of instances where I have animal-like or bad to decomposition. Okay. That's interesting. The 2 examples of a Sasquatch hand that I have encountered are at the one I was telling you about online, which was extremely large, and one that they have a replica of at Expedition Bigfoot. Not only do they have a replica of a Bigfoot hand, the bone, and there's like a missing finger, maybe 2 missing fingers, but they have pretty much the whole of the hand, and it's got a little furry area on it. And the other hand that I saw was very furry. Part of it was missing as far as the palm area had been bitten off by something, but you could see the hand itself, the fingernails, and they're very human-looking fingernails. It's really weird. It looks very human, and also they're the same size, these 2 hands. But the odd thing is, the thumb placement is not like what you're describing. So,
So, Mags, just so you know, paranormal people, Dogman, basically a werewolf. Just for an easy description.
That's for a physical description.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to a Dogman than that. And we actually did a show on Dogman. If you will go back, as soon as you can, go back and listen to our Dogman show, and you'll get a lot of what a Dogman is. What is a Dogman? That's up for debate as well.
Yeah, it could be an actual cryptid. It could be a human transformation. I don't know.
Well, it's not like a person that runs around turning into a Dogman. I mean, a dog, or a werewolf. What it is a creature that is man-like and canine-like.
All of a sudden we get a third guest, and I don't know where it came
right.
from. We'll just do that. How's
but
that?
there, if you want a really good book on Dogman, go and look up the author Linda Godfrey, and she's done several books on Dogman, and also Ken Gerhardt has, I think, a book or 2 out about the Dogman, so that would give you a good indication. But it's definitely something you need to look up. They look like werewolves.
Excuse me.
They torso of a human.
Yes, lycanthrope. Yes, exactly.
They have shoulders. They have elbows. The arms are larger. They're very bulky, a thinner waist. It's tapered waist. Very muscular. They have haunches like a dog. the dog head. The ears are pointed up and inward a bit. Some people describe the head as a Doberman, some a German Shepherd.
Yeah.
Even some describe it as a shorter-nosed dog. But if you think sort of Anubis-like,
I'm trying to get
that's kind of
away,
what you kind of come up with. But
it's gone now.
The teeth are very large, very, very large. In fact,
very large.
They're so large that it seems that these beings don't ever close their lips. So, there are many different, not different descriptions, but there's a lot that goes in it.
I'll be right back.
So, that is what a dogman is. And the thing is that some of the things that you've pointed out about this hand are a little bit, canine-like. The webbing, the fact that it's closer. Because if you take a dog's paw, you see a dog's paw. No, it doesn't look like a human hand. But if you were to mix a canine paw and a human hand together, then you're going to get, in my mind, and this is conjecture, but you would get something akin to what you're describing. To me,
right.
the little points that you've brought up about this hand, that would be what a dogman it looks like. In fact, I've listened to a lot of accounts of dogmen, and the hand that you're describing is extremely close to what I've heard. Dogmen do tend to inhabit places where Sasquatch are as well. Whether or not they're out in the Northwest, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that they are. I know that they're out. They're out east. They're out here, in the eastern part of the United States. I know, and I also know that they are in Texas, so they're in the Southwest as well. How far up they go, I don't know, but I do think that I've listened to a few in Canada. So my bet is that they would probably be in the area.
Did he happen to find a body with this hand, or was it just the hand? And I apologize for the third guest because I have no idea where it came from.
We've had some interesting things happen this week, folks.
Trying to figure out where it's coming from, and I have no idea. Just a hand. Okay.
Just a hand. This is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Gosh. Man, can you imagine, though? Oh, my gosh.
Severed at the... Was it like chewed off? Was it cut? Like squeezed off? Could you tell? No,
the dog brought it back to him. That makes sense. That I have actually heard of that again before. The dog bringing it back. There's even an account that I heard of a dog bringing back an entire Bigfoot leg from the knee down. So that's not. I would think that wouldn't be uncommon, because whatever they decide to do with their dead, possibly. I've even heard in caves that they bring them down into caves, things like that, which would make a lot of sense. And especially in the area that we live in, there are cave systems all throughout northern Georgia. A lot of people don't know that, but we have caves everywhere here.
Yeah, and I hate them.
So he does hate them.
Like this.
So it's not out of the realm of possibility to think maybe they would put them in caves and maybe put rocks over them. But whatever the case is, your dog is going to be able to get into places that you can't.
So we asked him, and he couldn't tell if it was squeezed, cut, bitten. Okay. He couldn't tell.
Well, and when you have animal predation, that's involved, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to pick that out, because animals like to chew on things.
Yeah.
Gosh,
right.
This is just, that's just crazy.
It is. That sound is annoying.
And I'm excited about that. That makes me, man, I get so jealous when I hear stuff like this. Man, I wish I could see this. Because if I could see it, I'm relatively sure I could be like, I wonder. But dogmen have been around a long time as well. Native tribes and people have spoken of the dog people, and they have also made glyphs in caves with these things on it as well, and totems.
We had one hit probably about no more than 10 miles from here 2 years ago. One was hit.
This guy just ran right over it.
And when the guy returned to put it down because he felt bad for hitting the creature, it was gone. He knew what it was going there. He knew what it was. And he wanted to put it down because he felt bad. But when he returned... See, these things tend to carry off their wounded. They leave no man behind.
Yeah.
So, Bigfoot, Dogman, they take them away. It's like, it's a huge secret. They don't want these bodies getting out.
Well, what if it even goes further than that? What if it's not just that they don't want the bodies? Because, whatever their thought process is, what if it's the fact that they're very sentient and they have emotion for their family members and for their
Well, all right. Yeah, I mean, just how we do.
Their pack.
Yeah, just how we do.
So they're not going to just leave them and run because that's their mate or their child or whatever the case is. So they're going to take them because they love them or they have some sort of compassion toward them in that case. So I don't know. I think that there's a little more to them than we can even comprehend. So I do know that there are a few more accounts around here. There are a lot of Jeep trails out here. And I know of one account not too far from here, a few years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago, where a man was on a Jeep trail and the dog man came across him. Very frightening encounter, came toward him, very threatening. So that in itself is interesting too, because it seems like dog men are not your friend. I have not heard any means. I have not heard any good stories where a dog man was nice or friendly or, wanted to come hang out. Every story I've heard, it's been intimidating. It's been terrifying. People have been chased. People have been threatened, and they don't quit. They don't quit. Once you've had that one encounter, it seems like they know maybe the I don't know, but for whatever reason, it's like you're familiar to them after that. So
I just want to throw this out there because if there's ever a story or something that somebody wants to talk about, this is the stuff we're going after. What Mags and David brought to our attention. We want to know this stuff. We want to talk about it.
Absolutely.
We don't want every week to pick a different... We don't care if we go back and talk about Dogman 3 and 4 times.
Oh, no.
If somebody has an encounter with these things or whatever the case is, whatever the case may be, I want to hear this stuff.
We want to know.
This is perfect. This is exactly it.
Yes.
I mean, even if they want to contact us, they can at gacryptocrew@gmail.com. GACRYPTO. Right? Crypto?
Yep.
No.
CREW.
CRYPTO.
There it is.
Crew, CREW @gmail.com. I'll even throw it in chat.
Because this is part of our research. This is part of what we do is research, because you need these accounts. And this is one of the reasons why we decided to do this. We want to know. We're not just like, okay, well, tell us, but we want to know if something has happened, because we want to be able to relate. We want to know if someone has had something happen, and there are ways to help. And it's extremely important for people to talk about this, and that's another reason why we're doing this. Is I want to encourage people to please talk about this, because it's traumatizing for some people, and it can help. And
thank you, Dave.
You have open ears who are not going to judge.
Listen, we may not have all the answers.
Oh, we don't.
I'm pretty sure we don't.
No.
But we do know the right people. I wouldn't say we have them in our pocket, but we do have access to people that have had way more experience and more time in the woods with these things than we have.
Absolutely.
My friend Rick Rellis, our friends Dave at the Expedition Bigfoot Museum, great people, by the way.
Yes, amazing people. David and Melinda are wonderful.
So if you ever get the chance to go into Cherry Log, Georgia, you got to stop on Expedition Bigfoot on 515.
You have to.
You have to. It's awesome.
We live like 10 minutes away. So we love it.
it's a treasure trove of information, absolutely, and they've done a great job with it. But we want to hear this, not just Bigfoot. You know what? If you've seen something weird
Anything.
and you don't know what it is,
I don't care if it's aliens.
we don't care. Anything that's seems not of the norm.
Yes.
And like I said, you're not going to get judgment here because
No.
we've had things not of the norm happen. And we're out there actively looking and actively trying to research and get information. And that's part of it. We really want to know. Thank you, Max.
Yeah, I've been I've been investigating the paranormal ghost-wise 7-8 years. She's been doing it probably about 14-15 years.
Yeah.
So we have a little bit of experience now. As far as Bigfoot, Dogman, anything cryptid, that's her. She's been doing that a long time. Yeah. So I mean, I'm more the techie ghost guy. So
yeah, I've done this.
We have a lot of experience between us in just about anything, is what I'm saying.
I've done this research for years before I knew what research was, and
she's been doing it as a kid.
Yeah, since I was since I could pick up a book, I've been doing this. I don't know what sort of. Well, I do know what fueled it. It took a while to realize what fueled it, but there was an experience I had when I was a kid. So, didn't see, but I heard, and man, did I hear. Not only me, but my entire household heard it.
I know we're kind of off topic, but I want to share a little story. And I don't know if all of you have heard the story. So we have roughly 5 areas right now we do our research in. We go out in the middle of the woods in the middle of the night sometimes.
It's good times.
We go during the day. And so after talking to our good friend Rick Rellis, he said, don't do this, don't do that. And what did we do? We did those things that we were told not to do. So we're out there just sitting, listening. Nothing's happening. She's like, I'm going to try something. And all of a sudden, she turns around and goes, oh, like that. Just lets out a
sort of
howl or whatever. It's more like, woo,
something
it was
like
that. And nothing. So I was like, all right, well, I'll try. I mean, we're in the middle of the woods. Why not? Nobody's looking around at me but her. So I did the same thing. I went, yo. And then we waited and nothing. And then I just went, woo, 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 woo. Right? And it's literally
it sounded just like that.
It does. It literally sounds like that out in the woods.
Up in the mountains.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you guys so much.
So, and then we sat and we listened. And all of a sudden we get, way out in the distance.
And it was long. And it was like, it was deeper though. It was a,
Now,
it was like that.
I can hear, but my ears are very directional. I got one that hears better than the other. And I don't know what's causing that, but I could hear it. And as far as direction, I couldn't figure it out, so I relied on her.
Yeah, I was down on the direction.
Yeah.
And it was off.
He's got you there, Mags.
In the Rich Mountain Wilderness.
Yes.
And it came from way out in the middle of nothing.
Yeah, so we went back home and pulled up Google Earth. But
first, remember we went by that one area? Because we were thinking down, we had gotten some track. We had gotten some possible track a few weeks ahead of that in this one area, and we were very close to it. So we were going back to, we were like, let's get, John looked at me and said, get in the car. And are we going to chase it?
Yeah, we're chasing it.
He's like, yes. I was like, oh, awesome.
Yeah, we're chasing it.
I'm all down to chase it. And so we go down this dirt road, and we're headed down to this one area where we found some track. And we get close to it, and...
So, now, just a little bit of a backstory real quick. I just quit smoking, so my nose is brand new to me. Okay, I'm smelling everything. We're driving probably about 10, 15 miles an hour, and we go by this one area, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, what is that smell? And she's like, what? Oh my God. I smelled it first, and I was on the other side of the car. Yeah. And we stopped, and the smell was so musky. It was an animal smell. It was not a deer.
I cannot explain this.
It was just, oh my God.
And it was
It wasn't musky.
overpowering.
It was musky.
Very musky.
Something marked its
very
territory.
scenty.
Oh my God.
Wild. Just really gross.
Gentlemen, you would not want to wear this as a cologne.
It was gross, man. It was so...
It was disgusting.
And it was very, very overwhelming. It's almost like eye-watering. And it was in one area, and then it was gone.
Well, I mean, it was there for as long as we sat there, but eventually it did go away. Maybe our noses got blind to it.
Yeah. But there's nothing out there, guys.
So, to finish the story, what I was doing is I'm being a paranormal investigator, so I have to find out for myself what could have possibly made that howl back to me.
Right. And yes, by the way, Yeti, Bigfoot, and Yowie do essentially sound pretty much the same. Their vocalizations, supposed vocalizations, are pretty damn close.
As far as we know.
From all the research I've done.
But here's the question. Does Yeti use infrasound? Because on what I have listened to and read, I've not heard... I'm sorry, not Yeti. Yowie use infrasound.
Yes.
All right, because I haven't heard anything about.
Yeah, and
Yowie
I'll tell you about one account here in a few minutes. But yes, Yowie does stun.
Okay.
You know, so yeah, John's good at it.
Yeah, I mean, I over my years, I've had to really project my voice, and I've learned how to. As far as that goes, I work in a lot of loud places, so I know how to throw my voice really. When next time I'm out in the woods, I'm going to record myself, and just to give you guys an idea, and I'm going to go a ways away and have Cindy record how loud it. I mean, this was way out there. We went home and looked at it on Google Earth. The thing had to either been on top of the mountain or just on the other side of the ridge.
Just on the other side of the ridge, yeah.
And it heard me. and
these mountains, like, we go up these things. Like, we take trails and we go up. And from where we did hike up there a few days later, and from the direction that it came from, we got to about 2,500 feet, I think. Or what, 30, was it 25? I think 3,500 feet.
I don't remember what you're talking about. But
whatever the case is, how far we went up the other day where I left the muffin.
Yep.
But it was further out than what we were able to get to. And it's not because we couldn't get to it. It's just it was a time constraint thing. But
I love questions.
Oh, I do too. It was pretty far out though.
But and we when we left that muffin, we were up 2,500 feet. Yeah.
And we love questions. Man, I love some questions. So you ask away, because if I've got any information or insight, I will impart it.
We will try and get it for you.
Yes, we will. We absolutely will. But the only time that I'm questioning whether or not we came across something other, and that's all I'm going to say is it was something other, was in this past November when we were on a trail that is a pretty well-traveled trail as far as a hiking trail in the daytime, and it loops around. But there's an old foundation that's off trail in one area that some people don't know about, and it's becoming more and more popular. People are learning about it more and more. But,
which I found out, by the way, is a post office. It used to be a post office.
It used to be a post office. Yep. Interesting. So it's not even really a foundation. It's just a couple of old fireplace chimneys that are still standing. Yep. Anyway, so we would go out and sort of...
I'll pass that question along, Mags, in 1 minute.
Try to habituate. And we were going to check our stash that we had left very high up for these things.
Yeah, we pretty much leave a geocache for this thing.
Yeah. But when we were coming out, we were discussing different things, some topics on what would attract this, what would attract that. And we were kind of down at the bottom of the holler. And yeah, I do call it a holler.
For those that don't know what a holler is, for us, Yankees, it would be considered a valley. But go ahead.
I try to unsouthern myself when I'm on,
Yeah, so what you're hearing is not how she actually talks. She actually changes gears and takes away that southern draw.
I try. Anyway, so we were coming out, and behind us, I'm going to say, I think not more than 15 feet behind us.
No more than 20 at least. No, all right. I'm gonna say at least no more than 30.
It felt close. There was this, and this is dark now. You got to remember this is dark. Okay, it's night, and it's November, so it's really dark, cold. We're coming out, and we hear something behind us coming, and it came from like our back left behind us, and we heard it, and we were actually filming. We were recording at the time, and I'm like, "Did you hear that?" He's like, "Whoa, did you hear that?" It sounded like, and I didn't tell him, but he said it sounded like a growl. I was like, "Nope, I'm out."
Yeah, she knows, and she was taking off. And meanwhile, typical white guy. I'm like, "Oh wait, let's go see what it was."
Nope.
Right. And she's like, "Well, no, you can. I'm out of here. See you later." I'm like, "Wait,
No.
wait."
No.
And it was just the most guttural, demonic sound I'd ever heard. The sound hit me. I didn't just hear it.
You felt it. You felt it, and you heard it, and it was so. It just vibrated the air. It was so weird, and so low. I can't even begin to even imitate how low this growl was. Low,
we know,
and it felt menacing.
Yeah,
and I was like, he's like, you don't run. I'm like, I'm not running. I'm walking really quickly.
Almost running.
But I was not going to feel okay till I got to the car that night. And needless to say, we really haven't been back there at night.
And we don't plan on it.
I don't know, that just didn't feel right to me, and I'm not quite sure what it was. I can't say that it wasn't Sasquatch related, but it didn't seem like it to me at all.
So Mags has a question. Do you think they are from this planet or another dimension or even alien? I've heard all applied.
I think question. That's in whichever group that you happen to be in, and I also feel like that it depends on how deeply you've researched this, and I think all these things are a bit on the subjective side, because I mean, I don't know how we'd even answer that, because we really don't know what aliens are. Do we think they're from a different planet? A lot of people do. I mean, is it dimensional? I know a lot of the books that I've read, some things that about quantum physics, things like that, does offer up the idea that portal type things, maybe wormholes, some things like that, that these beings are able to travel this way or go from dimension to dimension that way. Also, there are accounts of alien sightings that date back decades even, that go hand in hand with the Sasquatch sightings. So, I mean, I don't think any of us have real answers to this. I think people have a lot of opinions about what they think, but we don't know enough. There are people who think that these things are Nephilim.
I think, just my opinion, if I had to give you some sort of answer, I would say Sasquatch and those alike are from this planet, okay? And I think the reason why alien encounters and Sasquatch run hand in hand is because supposedly Sasquatch has the ability to mind speak, telepathy. So, pardon me. So, I think that aliens could possibly, I don't know for sure, could have that same ability. So, therefore, they communicate with the Sasquatch. And that's why they probably the alien and Sasquatch come hand in hand. That's
interesting. That's an interesting theory, too. I like that one, because it does kind of...
it makes a little sense.
It's a bit more logical, I think.
Holy cow.
I mean, aliens, we don't know. Also, and we're going to be doing a show on this not long from now, maybe next week, reptilians.
Yeah.
So, some people say the reptilians are subterranean, and actually from this planet, and they're just a species that has lived beneath us for so long. Is Sasquatch maybe, a bit subterranean themselves, and that's why they're so good at hiding? And if that's the case, do these things know each other? And aliens, are they from another planet? Are they not? Are they some sort of spiritual being that, angels or demons? There's a lot there. I think it depends on your belief system, from birth, what your influences are. Many people believe different things, but I think that you really, to form some sort of real, I don't even want to say opinion, but idea about what these things may be.
All right, Max, have a good night. That
it's all about doing a lot of research, because the more that you research these things, good night, Max, the more that you delve into it, the more you find out it's almost like your opinion and what your idea of these things are morphs and changes. It's very fluid the more that you learn, because all these different things pop up that just kind of don't make sense if they're this, or that wouldn't make sense if they're that. Do I think that they're just a relic hominid, or an offshoot, or descendants of Gigantopithecus? I'm not in that suit. I really don't believe that.
I would think it's a little bit of a stretch.
I just don't feel like, because there's so much more to them than this. And I know I'm just like, oh, how do you know that? But I have literally heard thousands of accounts. I have studied many, many, many accounts, and they all run the same as far as, basically what these things are, how they act, and the different things that they can do. And some of it just doesn't make any sense for it to be just
right.
this animal that's hiding in the woods. Are they an animal? No, they're not a regular animal.
Some people seem to think that us human beings are aliens brought here by something or somebody else, put on the planet to survive. Okay, what's to say that Sasquatch isn't an alien, or is an alien also brought here to survive, to regenerate their breed, or if you will, you know what I mean? It's I don't know. It's still another stretch, I guess, to say, but maybe that's why another theory of the alien and Sasquatch come hand in hand.
Well, it's also like the Nephilim theory, and Nephilim is, the angels who were fallen from heaven, and who were they were sent to hell, that are sent to earth, actually. Mm-hmm. They interbred with human women, and as a result were born the Nephilim, which are a race of giant. And there are many stories in the Bible about Nephilim. In fact, I believe that Goliath would fall into that category. Him and his brothers were all very giant. What's to say that they weren't Sasquatch type people? What's to say? Because they were very very
nothing really
violent. They were large, very strong.
Yep.
Very imposing, and that this army put them against all of their enemies.
Yeah.
And these things were always victorious. These giants. Not only that, there are examples of bones, full skeletons that have been found.
Yep.
That are giant people.
Minnesota.
With some differences. There are some differences in the structure of the skeleton, as far as humans. One of which is the longer arms. So, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, there's just so much we don't know. Not enough answers.
But
a ton of questions, but not enough answers.
But even with the Yowie in Australia, it's not the only hairy humanoid in Australia.
Well, are you going to leave us hanging?
I thought you never asked. So there are smaller, very small, almost child-sized.
I was going to say, I think you told me this now.
Yeah. But these things are little monsters, and they
almost sound like puckwudgies.
Yeah, don't they?
Yes.
Ewok too.
Ewok. Oh, I have that. Hold on.
Oh, yeah. So they're little, and they're very. Yeah, they will draw you in, these things, and they have been known to take children. Mm-hmm. So, are they part of the elite? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're runners for the elite. That's what they are. But anyway, they're also in Australia, and they have been seen many times. And they're hairy. They're small, much smaller. I think like 2 to 3 feet tall.
Sounds like a puckwudgie.
It does sound like a puckwudgie. I have
really
thought
does.
the same
It really
thing.
does. Because puckwudgies are real small.
I know.
Too, and
I have thought the same thing.
Can be hairy.
I mean, it's an interesting, interesting theory, for sure. So you have the big ones and you have the little ones in Australia. But the Yowie it's fascinating. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine going Yowie hunting?
I'm still waiting to see a Bigfoot.
I know, but still. And I mean, I guess their main source of food, which they have tons of food in the outback, but their choice, or their best choice for food, I would think, would be Aroo.
Well, we did hear that.
They are the deer of Australia.
Yeah. Yes,
so, we have white-tailed deer. They have kangaroo, which is much beefier. I mean, can you imagine? Maybe that's why these things are so big.
Maybe. I mean, it's all protein.
And so violent because they have to fight Aroo to kill it. I mean, those things kick.
Those things are tough, too.
They are.
Yeah.
But man, a kangaroo tail, that'll last you like a couple days.
Oh, yeah, a good size one.
That's meaty, man.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's one account, and I'll go over this, that I had listened to about a Yowie, and it was a woman and a few kids, I think 3 kids. One of them was a friend of her son's, and it was a friend of her daughter's. So it was her daughter's friend, and her son. And they were going to a popular little swimming hole over in a national park in Australia that wasn't too far away from them. So they set out on their little day trip there. They'd been there before, and they were going out. It's not a very long hike. I think a 3/4 mile hike to the actual swimming hole itself, which has a waterfall that's cascading down into it.
Awesome.
There's an upper trail that is to the left of the parking lot, and there is a lower trail that takes you right to the water hole that was at the right side of the parking lot, and they chose that trail because it was easier. And they had all their floats, towels, and whatnot to go with them, picnic, whatever. And so they get down they go walking down in, and she's got her son who's smaller with her. And the 2 girls are, preteen age, and they run down ahead, and they're hopping in the water and playing and, having a good time. And there's a berm sort of that runs, on the side of the waterfall up top, which was, I think it wasn't very tall. The waterfall itself, I think maybe, like 30 feet, So, they're in the swimming hole, beautiful place, off in the woods a little bit. And all of a sudden, her son freezes. He turns pale as a ghost, and he finally starts to run toward her and grab her, completely flipping. But before he could get to her, this sound comes from the top of the waterfall, and it is a horrible, deafening, screaming, yelling roar coming right at them. And she looks up and sees this thing standing up there. She said around 8 feet tall, imposing, hairy, muscular, angry looking thing. And it was screaming at them. So screaming so much that they had to put their hands over their ears.
Yeah, they all heard it.
She felt as if her ears were going to bleed, basically. It was so they all take off and run. The kids are ahead, and she's running. And she can hear this thing coming after them in the brush, like running, sort of mirroring them in the brush to her back and to the side. And they run, and she hears it continues to do these screams at her. It's getting closer and closer. They run, and they all jump in the car. She's fumbling trying to get them, not even worried about seatbelts, nothing. And then she hears off in the woods, when they get in the car off to where that left trail is, she hears what sounds like a little child screaming like a kid, a little kid, as a small, very small kid screaming. And when she's fumbling with the keys, she finally gets, everything started. She's completely panicked. The kids are screaming. This thing is coming to the tree line. And she notices there's a car that's parked over near the upper trail, that all the doors are open. And she can see that there are toys in the car and possibly, some child's clothing. But there's no one in the car. The car is completely empty. And it immediately hits her as they're starting to drive out of this parking lot. Everything's in slow motion. She's trying to get away. This thing's still screaming and coming out of the woods. And she's like, she hears the kid crying. And as she's leaving the parking lot and starts to go down the road and they're getting away, the kids are freaking out. She wonders if maybe that this thing, or maybe more like it, have gotten whoever was in the car. That maybe they're gone and this thing had them, and that's the cry that she heard from this child.
So I just want to put a little fact out there, because it has happened to me, and I found this out, which I thought was really interesting. Has nothing to do with the story, but when things move in slow motion, okay, when things happen and they start going in slow motion, it's actually your brain trying to catch up to you. Believe it or not.
Makes sense.
No, it is. It happened to me in a car accident. When the impact hit,
right.
Everything went in slow motion because everything was moving so fast. My brain is trying to process it. So instead of flipping that switch and putting it to 60 frames per second, it was actually in 30 frames per second. So your brain is actually trying to catch up.
Well, her brain was trying to catch up with her. As they were leaving the parking lot and pulling out, going down the road a little bit, she saw a cop coming in. And she stopped the cop, completely freaking out, and said, "There's a monster. There's something out there." She said, "There's something up there. Please, you need to do something." And then she just left. That's all the explanation she gave. And she saw in her rear view as the cop went to pull down toward where the car was. She still heard the thing in the woods at this point. She's still hearing it. So she pulls away, and they're finally out safe on the highway going back home. And she's about 3 or 4 miles away at this point, starting to settle down. The kids are starting to calm down. She's in complete shock, doesn't know what she saw. Has no idea what the hell it was.
Well, which is also common for these things when you see them.
So they go to, they're leaving, and she sees a cop car with the lights on behind her. And so she's wondering, she wonders, is this anything to do with, what happened?
Let me guess, she spun it around.
No, she don't. No, the cop comes by her and goes by. And when he passes by,
excuse me,
she says it's the same cop that she stopped. His face was as white as a sheet.
Oh my.
Even her daughter said, "Mom, did you see him? Did you see that?" She said his eyes were big, his face was flushed white, and that he looked sick, and he took off. He kept going. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got a juggernaut of a creature in the woods. So,
very frightening encounter. Like, extremely. I can't, that's scary.
Yeah.
And they did later, I think over a year later, she finally convinced her kids, and her husband at that time, to go back just to see. Because, when you have things like this happen, there's something in you that wants to say, is this what happened? Like, you want to go back.
Did this really happen? Yeah, let's go back.
You want to go replay it. I've had that happen where I want to go back and look because I feel crazy. I feel like if I go and just look and see, that it'll kind of validate, how I feel. And so they did. And, everything that she remembers about this was, everything that she remembers about the place, the area, it felt the exact same way. It looked the same way. She still... she feels like now that she did see a Yowie. But whatever the case was, it was a terrifying encounter. And I don't think it's something that anybody would want, not your average Joe would want to have. We're a different story, but That's pretty scary.
What do you mean we?
I'm a different story.
Yeah.
I'm a different story. Yeah, it did freak him out big time. Whatever happened back there was too much for this cop to handle, it seems like.
Even though he's probably got a combat shotgun in the truck, in the car, or an AR-15 or something.
Well, and he's still terrified.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Well, and, people
yeah, it did freak him out big time, Dave.
Poople.
Wait a minute. This is about Yowies.
People do go missing in Australia as much as, just like they do here. So, I mean, I don't know. We can't say that these things are behind it, but we can't say that there aren't instances where they haven't or don't.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they seem to be pretty volatile and maybe angry. I don't know. Maybe. But I don't know. I mean, I would think twice before wanting to have an encounter with a Yowie. But
not Bigfoot?
No, I probably wouldn't. You're right. Never mind. Forget I said that. I'm trying to be on the
We'd
side.
We'd get in the car and she'd be like, "Did you see that? That was cool.
Let's go back and do it again.
Let's go." No.
We got to catch it. That'd be me.
It's not a Pokemon.
Well, I mean, I get that, but I really so badly. I want so badly to have an encounter that I'll go sit out in the woods by myself, but he wouldn't let me.
No.
So I can't.
No.
Do I get scared? Of course, it's scary out there, y'all. If you've ever been out in the woods at night by yourself, or even not by yourself, it's dark. And if any of you guys probably have, you've done paranormal investigating, but outside, as opposed to in a building, is a little different.
Yeah, I mean, again, AR-15 and not sure if 5.56 is stopping 400-pound plus. Yeah,
I don't think so either.
No, it's not.
There's no way.
I think you would probably have to carry somewhere upwards of a 50 caliber at least with a headshot at a good 100 yards before it would stop him.
It'd have to be a headshot, and it would have to be one that's
most definitely.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because they're not just Bigfoot and not just Dogman, but there are stories of these things getting shot in the chest and arms and legs and muscles being blown off, and they're still coming at you.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Then you've made them mad.
Well, yeah. I mean, a 9mm or a 45 or something like this, it's just going to piss them off.
Well, even people have hit these things with trucks.
Yeah, and they get up and walk away.
They get up and leave. It's a truck. Like, a truck.
That's like hitting the Incredible Hulk with a blast from a tank.
But this is real, though.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying, just to give you an idea.
And it's these things are, they're not joking around. They're just not joking around. And the fact that they can just pick a deer up and pop its neck so easily, that's been seen many times. So I'm guessing the Yowie has to pick up a kangaroo and pop its neck real quick.
Well, yeah.
Swing it around by the tail.
Maybe.
Slam it on the ground.
Maybe do a Hulk versus Loki.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, puny god. Boom, 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 boom.
Maybe. He'd have to do something.
Yeah.
They got little brains, though, so kangaroos aren't hard to kill.
No, I wouldn't imagine so.
But that's extreme power. But no, we were, as far as, yes, trucks.
Yes, trucks. There are stories of a truck driver hitting one and it falling down into a ravine. The truck driver went to go see what it was. When he found out what it was, it got up, walked away, and it fell down again. And then 4 or 5 of them come out of the woods and take it away.
Yep. So, are they benign? People have had encounters that were benign, and then people have had encounters that were not so benign. And there are instances where they have gotten into homes, and there is one particular, one of the most horrific I've ever heard of. This rogue, angry Bigfoot, for whatever reason, he was an unhappy young male Bigfoot, and I don't mean young as in like teenage, but big enough to do damage. Was really tormenting a few houses in this one area that's off in the woods on a res. And there was an elderly couple who was attacked in the house. It came into their house and attacked them. The woman did suffer injuries, but she was able to get out and get away. The husband was not so lucky. They found his body in the house. The house was completely destroyed on the inside. They found the dogs dead, and they did not find his head until they started looking around, and they found it on the roof of the house. That's
where I want my head.
It had been ripped from his body and thrown onto the roof. He had not been eaten or anything like that. He was just destroyed, beaten and destroyed and pulled apart. So it's gruesome. It's gruesome.
I'll tell you a story for those that are listening. We do a lot of these expeditions, and we go out in the woods, we go camping, we act like campers, we just forget that these things are there. So normally, I'm the guy, I go cut wood, and I start sawing it, I split it, and the whole 9 yards. So I'm sitting down in this one area, and man, I can't sit here anymore. I really can't. I just can't do it. So I get up, stand on the other side of the fire, and I'm okay. That hair-raising goosebump feeling is gone. I'm like, well, this fire isn't going to do it itself, and I'm not going to ask anybody else to do it because, it's my job. I'm a man, So I climb back over the fire. I sit down. I start splitting wood again, and here comes that feeling right over me again. I'm like, what is going on? I couldn't sit there. Not in that one spot. I could not stand or sit right there. Film The Boggy Creek Creature. Is that based on the legend of the Yowie or Bigfoot? Bigfoot.
Yes, that is Boggy Creek. That's an interesting area.
That's supposedly a real story too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. And there's a book as well. But the Boggy Creek monster is a Bigfoot. So Bigfoot goes by many names, and that is one of them.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty cool what these things can do to you, just by looking at you.
Yeah, I mean,
very interesting.
They have these. People say that they hear them speak in their heads. There's so many different things.
It's called mind speak.
Yeah, and they have all these encounters.
Yeah, Ozark Mountain area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think over Boggy Creek is very it's a very wet area. It's a swampy area, so. I don't know that these necessarily would maybe fall into the line of a skunk ape or swamp ape. Yeah, but I know that particular one was pretty pissed off, and that they ran these people out of that house eventually.
Yes, they did.
I think they lived there for a week.
Something like that. They had a big old shootout with it and everything.
Yeah, and they were gone. This thing was like trying to get through the bathroom window to get them, and all sorts of stuff. And actually, the movie itself, they used people that were from the town.
People,
the real people in the movie, which gives it that much more, that much more of a real feel. But it's a very popular story as far as Bigfoot, and Bigfoot like mountains. They really tend to. I don't think they tend to gravitate toward mountains. I just think that it's easier for them to be able to live, to hide, and possibly to, populate in the mountains.
Not only that, but it's a really good defensive position.
It is a good defensive position. And plus they have so much at their disposal. There's so much freshwater source. There's plentiful amounts of food, whether it be plants or animals. It's everywhere. We ourselves could go out in the woods out here, and we could completely survive off what's out there. Easily. I mean, we could do well because of the amount of food there is out here to eat. So when people have the argument, oh, well, there's not, there's not a place that could sustain a population of these. That's just a bunch of bunk.
Yeah.
They absolutely could. They definitely could. So I think that's, that argument's out the window as far as them not being able to survive.
So coming to the end of the show, what do we want to do next week?
I'm kind of wanting to do,
do the
reptilians.
Reptilians. All right,
yes.
We'll have to do the reptilians then.
because that's going to lead in a bunch of different interesting areas. So, but I do want to say before we leave, guys, check out our Dogman episode as well. That'll give you some more insight on the Dogman and possibly this hand that we were speaking about during our podcast. So it's pretty interesting. I'm excited to hear more about that.
Oh, yeah. So look for next week's post on reptilians. And hopefully we can get a good show like we just did tonight.
If you guys have a story of your own, let us know. There are plenty of ways to get in touch with us, and we want to know your encounters.
No problem, Dave. I'm glad you came on.
Thank you, guys. It was great.
All right. So we'll catch you guys next week.
And just remember, absence of proof is not proof of absence.
Have a good weekend.
Good night,
see
guys.
you next week.